try to recruit more veterans. I have found we have some veterans working for us. We don't really have a very strong effort to recruit veterans. And what I've found is some of the veterans that are working for us now that have not finished college before they went into the Army, came back and finished college, have a great deal of life experience that could be really good for the kind of work we do.
I can appreciate the desire to recruit veterans, but could, in many cases, these are very traumatic situations, and many of the veterans have PTSD.
Sure.
Why is there a added focus on hiring veterans? And I'm very supportive of assisting veterans, but in a very high stress, role like this, why did we even mention?
Well, we've seen a number of our veterans that are working for us become very, very good workers, and we have an effort within the enterprise to look at making sure we are offering veterans positions and not ignoring them. So we don't want to ignore them as a population.
I would agree, but I'm just wondering why, as investigators.
They could be investigators, social workers. There are a lot of social workers that come out of the military. We've looked at people,
and they're typically those who are capable. They're typically already employed.
That's true.
The veterans that we're asking as a legislative body for to give opportunity are usually those who are not employed, and they're usually not employed because there's some other partial reasons. I see Commissioner Janik wanting to really jump up here, so I'm going to invite you up here to.
Thank you for recognizing the body language, Madam Chair. Kyle Janik, the Executive Commissioner in Health and Human Services. A couple of points that I want to make on this issue. The first is that the incidence of PTSD is fairly small. Now, I can't give you the statistics, but when you talk to them,
well, there's much argument within the veterans community that it's underreported.
I get that, but believe me, we spend a fair amount of time in other parts of the enterprise looking at this issue, and I get that. But also in talking with both everyday service people as well as some of the higher-ups in the military, you get the sense that there's a lot of them, just a significant number of veterans who come out of it without being on that spectrum from mere minor depression to major depression and PTSD. And so certainly you need to have a screening process. You don't want to have people who have PTSD for any reason come in to be a caseworker. Sometimes
it's difficult to catch it until it's something that triggers.
If it can affect their job, but frequently they already know if they've got that and if they've got the stressors. Right? So that needs to be one of the screening tools for a caseworker in these very stressful situations. Having said that, when you think about the modern military and where so many of these now still young people come out of the military, what their mindset is quite different than in wars past. My cousin just retired from the Army as a full colonel, and I went to his retirement party, and some of his classmates from West Point were there, and they had some service members who served under him. And it was quite revealing, because when you talk to them, their mindset of going into, in the modern warfare, places where we are today, they go into a village, and it's as much about making sure that the folks in that small village understand, I'm not here to hurt you, I'm here to defend, and we've got a mission to carry out. This coming to terms with the folks and the ability to communicate why they're there, what the mission is, not here to hurt you, don't make any assumptions that you're my enemy, is actually can be very helpful. And so I've asked the commission to look at this in terms of screening.
You see my face going in all these directions?
I do. I pick it up on your body language as well.
And I appreciate the work that Susanna does, but and I appreciate the desire and the attempt to hire veterans. But in this case, and I'm very supportive of veterans. I'm one of their the biggest advocates for funding, especially as it relates to mental health care, for women who have been abused in the military, for all sorts of issues. My concern is making a priority of hiring veterans over over the rest of the population, when sometimes those who have been veterans, and it's not always, just sometimes, but it's a lot, take a buck up and deal with the system mentality, where these are kids that already tell us, especially tell their CASA workers, they don't need the buck up and deal. We just had a hearing on kids who expressed to us just a month ago that stated they wouldn't come forward to express the abuse that they had experienced in foster homes because no one, they felt, was going to address it. And if they think we're going to have this structure of buck up and deal with it, they're not going to come forward because that's already what they feel. And so that's my concern and why my body is doing all of this. Hire at HHSC. But I do not make it the top priority of hiring for these positions.
Understood, Madam Chairman. Madam Chair, and I don't think we've made it the top priority, but I want to address a couple of those concerns. The idea that the modern soldier is going to go into a situation like this and look around and say, hey, kid, life's tough, get over it. Look at me, I'm a soldier. That is very much, Madam Chair, at odds with many of the military people that I've come in contact.
But it's not with the ones I've come in contact with.
Well, we may
so
have,
we have these.
I understand, and there is not much reason to think that those folks who may have that mentality want to be social workers. So the idea is we should be out there recruiting. Doesn't mean preferential hiring, but we should be recruiting.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
That's right.
Was not preferential
I don't know that
hiring.
it is. I will tell you this. I would like nothing better than have a unit that we could move around perhaps for made up of investigative caseworkers who, again, when we talk about cultural competency, that is a life that I don't understand.
I'd be glad to help
I did not serve. You may think you understand. I don't believe you serve.
But I think that, why don't you do a test? Why don't you do a test?
Yeah.
And why don't you make that test near military base? Because then they would understand what the military family is going through, and they can deal with cases like we had in Abilene where the wife's husband was deployed. And
I appreciate you making my argument for it. That is exactly why we are doing this.
Representative Burkett wants to pose a
That is the reason,
question.
Madam Chair.
No, I just want to pose a comment.
Okay.
Coming from a family of lots of military veterans, I think it's unfortunate if we stereotype them to have any kind of talents that the general population doesn't have. So I applaud y'all looking at the veterans. They need jobs. I do understand your concerns. We want to make sure that we don't put somebody in this kind of very important, sometimes dangerous situation for these kids, to make sure that they are not put with somebody who can't handle the stress. But I'm really hesitant to say a veteran can't do it simply because they are a veteran. Not all veterans have been in combat that are looking for jobs right now. And I just think they have a very disciplined background to have the stick-to-itiveness for the jobs, and we need to make sure that we give them careful consideration.
Consideration, but not preference, is what I'm stating.
If they qualify for the job, absolutely, we should give them preference.
Oh, I don't see why, in this particular case, why a veteran over someone else? Because if that were the case, then why not give preference to African Americans? Because 40% of the children that are being removed are African American, and I'm not asking you to do that.
I understand.
Understood.
But
And
that
I
was-
would
that was
say, and I
being
think,
asked.
I'm sorry.
No, we have not.
Okay.
We have
He
not.
was first.
Representative Dale.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. So I am a veteran. I never served in combat, and a large number of soldiers in all branches, or sailors, Marines, also never served in combat to the point that you made. And, the modern military is probably a lot different than some of what the movies would lead you to believe that it's all taking orders and just executing orders. There's a lot of discussion that goes into it, a lot of thought. There's a high degree of ethics that are instilled in the members of the military. Many of them are minorities, Hispanic and black in the military, I think in a higher proportion than the general population. And I think it's one of the big problems that soldiers have today when they leave the service are people stereotyping them as having mental illness.
Well, let me
and
be clear.
PTSD.
I'm not stereotyping. I'm taking this from, I happen to have a family member that happens to oversee the division that assists veterans and assists veterans in finding jobs and assists them in finding medical treatment. And that also provides me real-time information and data in my job here as a legislator on things that veterans are going through. So my opinion is based on information provided to me by the veteran community of what veterans want and do not want. It's not about stereotyping veterans in being a certain way, but I do know when I'm looking at policy, I'm basing it on what especially women veterans have provided to me and told me to do and not to do.
Well, I'm sure my wife, who's also a female veteran, would be happy to talk to you about it as well.
I'd be glad
And,
to discuss it.
And I just think, I think we need to be careful in how we talk about this because it is a problem for the veteran community. And I think that veterans in particular are shown in many industries to be self-starters that are willing to execute without supervision and do a very good job. And I applaud the effort to look at it.
I appreciate your comments. And if I offended you or anyone who has a veteran in their family or any of my family members who are veterans, then my apologies. But I will not pull back on my comments. I will not pull back on my concerns because they are valid concerns and they should be validated. I will validate your position and your position that you feel that I may have offended or stereotyped veterans. That was not my intent, but I also, if I were stereotyping and I were to sit here and say you should make veterans a priority, then I'm going to demand that you make African Americans a priority too, because those children that are being removed and impacted the most are African Americans, and then second, Hispanics. And then, so if you are going to make that type of determination, then I want you to make that determination in hiring. And I'm not asking that to be done. I'm just saying you don't make preferential treatment based on a category, but based on their ability to deal with the children in that population.
And what I'm trying to do is broaden the net. I think we haven't broadened the net to bring in the most qualified people from every college, every background, veteran, people who are retired. I want to bring in the most qualified people that are capable of doing this job and give them the best training possible. And I just think we have been too narrow on where we recruit and really not gone out.
Where do you recruit?
Well, we really wait for them to apply. I mean, we don't go out and recruit. And so what I'm talking about, I want to go out to the universities. I want to go out to the multiple degree programs in the university. Historically black collar, I want to go to all of them. And I want to try to find people that want to be Child Protective Service workers so it helps me reduce turnover.
I think your idea of developing a career program at the university is a good idea. And I would be glad to work with you on coordinating with those universities to develop the degree program. Blacks, Hispanics, whites, Asians attend HBCUs. It's a lot easier to get those programs done because they originally started out as teaching institutions, just like Texas State or Stephen F. Austin, and that's why I made those recommendations.
Let me just say this when I get out of your way.
I think Representative Frank wants to make a comment or a question.
No, I was just
first.
going to say, I think ultimately I appreciate anything y'all are doing to reach out to find quality workers. And I really, we have Shepherd Air Force Base in our district, and, those folks that retire, many of them never went to war, some of them did, but they always look for a place to fit in and fit in well, and I can't imagine how much, in many cases, better prepared somebody is at the age of 45 or 43 when they retire than a 20-year-old coming out of college with no experience to be able to deal with the kind of trauma that you're talking about. So I think it's great that y'all are looking. Y'all keep looking.
to have that experience, if I may, to have that experience, particularly as you rightly pointed out in Abilene, when you have a problem, if you're going to go into an area where there's a military family involved, it can't be unhelpful to have someone who's been there or walked in those shoes. And I think that that's part of the outreach for this thing. The second point is that, yeah, sometimes we'll get folks, this is anecdotal, but someone in the agency actually talked to a female veteran about doing this job, and our person said, now you got to understand, we don't pay really well, and it's pretty stressful work. And went on to sort of give the be cautious because here's the downside. And that veteran said, "It's okay, I got it." They've done that, and they've got a world of experience. I think it's not. It should not be the priority.
The complaint that I hear from the veterans community is that it's those that are unemployed, that largely homeless, because there is some PTSD, some mental illness, some maybe drug abuse because of the stress that they're dealing with, that they're asking us to help and get employed.
Sure.
They're not asking us to help those who don't need assistance. That's the complaint that I'm talking about,
right,
from the veterans community that they're asking us to address. And so the ones that are in need, that they're supposed to be going over to Todd Staples or to you and your agency to get the assistance, are a bit different than what you are describing as the person with the experience who may or may not have gone into combat and not had any problem. That's the complaint I hear when I sit in appropriations from the veterans community.
Understood.
Help those who need help.
Understood. We're not talking about two different things here. Trust me, we are not going to the service side and say, find some folks who need a job and have depression so we can recruit. That is not it. When we say recruit, we're talking about being at the job fairs on the bases when folks are about to leave active duty. I mean, we want to be in those job fairs where those active duty military personnel are transitioning to civilian life.
We have a disconnect, and some folks think it's funny.
No.
So before I get irritated, let me explain. What I'm talking about, the veteran community that asks for assistance are for those who don't have, and they're the ones that you just described that you said you're not going to get.
Right.
Right. So then why the hell are you putting a preference on for those who don't get is what I'm asking you.
First thing, I think we clarified a few minutes ago, and if it wasn't clear then, I'll make it more clear now. We're not putting a preference. We're recruiting for caseworkers.
Okay.
And I think we made it very clear early on that when you have that high of a turnover rate, you need to look very carefully at whom you are recruiting. Are you picking the right people? Are you not training them well? When 38% turnover in the first year, you've got to do something
different. We want to
different.
appreciate people who serve this country. We certainly do. And we want to assist them, help them, pay homage to them, and not lip service to them. And I'm not saying you're paying lip service. I'm saying as a nation. But there are a lot of people that are out there who are capable. They just may not have veteran behind their name.
Sure, understood. And we talked about this at great length with the Stephen Group. I said, there's one particular, everybody's so tired of hearing me say the story back at the shop, but there's one particular fast food restaurant chain. When you go through there, it's a step above, I don't know if it's the training or the way they recruit or something, but those people really do act like they're happy that you pulled up to the window, right? And I don't know what they do. Did they recruit better? Did they train better? But there's something about that customer service that seems to be a step up. I don't know if they pay better. I don't really know. And yet we look and we've got dissatisfaction. And I would have to call it dissatisfaction. It can't be just pay. It cannot be just pay when you see a 38% turnover rate. They know what the pay is going in. What they may not realize is, what does this really mean? What is it really like to get in somebody's home and say, you've been accused of neglecting or abusing your child? I would have to defer to our state representative who's got that experience on the ground. I don't know what that would be like, but I want to make sure that we recruit people who know going in before we invest $40,000.
Maybe that's why it's an excellent question at the beginning to ask. Why do you want this job?
Yep. Yep.
Exactly.
It's a multifaceted approach, and please, if I said something that seemed inappropriate, I would not introduce that.
You do not, but I don't appreciate chuckle from the committee. You said nothing. You were trying to address the question.
I just want you to know we're not looking for those who are currently receiving services. We're talking about job fairs for veterans who are about to exit. They've got a world of experience, and we think that sense of duty or sense of service, because I hear it over and over for those who do apply for various jobs. They lost their team. They had their team, and now the team is gone, and then they stand here and they say, what am I doing? I need that sense of purpose. And the most important thing, this is what really got me thinking about it, Madam Chair, was when they're used to saying, my teammate's falling behind, I'm going to help. I'm not looking out for myself. I'm going to help my teammate. And so I think we'd see lower recidivism. I think we'd see better numbers in terms of backlogs and everybody pitching in to help. And that has nothing to do with the fine caseworkers we've got. It's a different approach.
I want to remind you that I brought this up in appropriations. You recall the hearing Leticia Vanderpute had in Houston, and how angry veterans became because they felt that the proposals that were being made by this legislature and by your agency were not issues that were of their greatest concern and I'm talking about veteran organizations in addressing their needs and their health. And as a matter of fact, as a result of that, some of the veteran coordinators in various regions of the state turned in their resignations and refused to work with TCF or TCV anymore because they say we don't listen to them when they're asking us for help. They say all we do is we put vet on the title and then we say we did this when they're asking us to address very specific concerns that they have and needs that they have.
Sure.
And that was just 3 months ago.
Sure. And I think they were mad at somebody. And
I don't want them mad at me.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I don't want them mad at me. I think they were mad at the VA system, the federal system.
No, they were mad at the Texas veterans system. I can pull up the emails and print them out for you right now.
No, I trust you. You say that, I believe that to be the case. But I think they were ready to be mad at somebody, and given that they had gone through what they had heard had happened in the VA system, the hospital system run by the federal government, and that was the focus of so much of that anger that I'm familiar with. So we think this is a worthwhile initiative. We want to recruit in good places, and we need to do a better job of getting out to all of them rather than wait for them to apply, and then they find out, wow, you know what, this is not the job for me. I didn't know what I was signing up for, and we have a 38% turnover rate in that first year. It can't sustain.
Representative Burkett, did you have a comment that you wanted to make?
Well, yes, actually I did. I think I totally understand the concerns that you're addressing. I'm wondering if they're not a little bit not geared at what Kyle was trying to address, which is when we have an equal footed or equal skilled person applying for a job, that it's an honor to recognize our veterans and the sacrifices they made to serve in our military, and I think that we should give them preferential choice if everything else is equal. If your educational skills are equal, your abilities are equal, those veterans, many that I have talked to, just want an opportunity to work, and sometimes that doesn't happen. So I think that's all Kyle was trying to do.
Affirmative action for vets?
Sorry?
Affirmative action for vets?
I think that they should be given recognition and having taken time out of their lives, their families, their hometowns, their ability to have jobs where they can prosper and climb the ladder, whether it be corporate or otherwise, and do their own business. They put all that aside to go and serve our country, and we should recognize that.
Affirmative action for vets.
I think we should recognize our veterans for the sacrifices
Affirmative
made.
action, okay.
These are tough jobs. We'll take good candidates for caseworkers wherever we find them. These are extraordinarily tough jobs. I cannot imagine doing that work, and my hat is off to those who have chosen to do that in their career. So we want to get the best, and we don't want to lead them down some path that we're going to train you for something that you really are not going to like in 6 or 8 or 9 months. We want to pick them better, train them better, let them see what it is they're getting into, and I think that's the common mission, but no preferential hiring on that.
Well, obviously, you touched on a very sensitive issue with me. So,
As I sometimes seems to do, and I'm sorry about that.
no, you don't. No, we're cool. We are totally cool. Do you want to go into the
I'd
next
like to move
subject?
on to the next slide,
So would
which
I.
is which is skill development. And really, this addresses some of the things we're talking about. Once we find